여러분 안녕하세요. 한잔한 MJ입니다. 글렌알라키 증류소고요. 지난 시간을 보신 분들은 아시겠지만 오늘은 빌리워커와 함께 걷고 있습니다. 이 투샷 와 진짜 너무 비현실적이에요 개인적으로. 그래서 인터뷰를 진행해봤습니다. 혼자 가서 촬영하고 하느라 좀 아쉬운 점이 많지만 그래도 좋은 이야기가 많이 들어있으니까 끝까지 한번 시청해주세요. 드디어 Really big honor to meeting you and a representative from Korean whiskey lovers. Really nice in here to meeting you. Like feels like a living legend. In Korea, you are really kind of superstar.
Well, it's kind, but you know, I'm just a whiskey miner. You know, the first time I went to Seoul.
When was it?
About 30 years ago.
Wow, it's too long.
International airport was the
older one, Gimpo.
Gimpo.
Ah, you're right. It's really.
The journey from Gimpo to the Hilton Hotel downtown was 30 minutes.
Ah, yeah, right.
Today,
yeah, it's been longer and much bigger.
Is the River Han? The River Han.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
There were maybe, and it takes us 5 years to build the bridge. It takes them 5 months to build the bridge.
Right. Very constructing and getting developed. Yeah, still really fast and change.
It's really fast, but the old part of the city is still nice.
Oh yeah, I love that. You know what? Actually, just a short interview, but it feels like a freshman of the university who learning physics, asking professors. Actually, I really love the whiskey and alcohol, the others as well. And I've been visited more than 30 distilleries before, but it's really thrilling now.
Well, let's hope you enjoy it.
I don't want to make it rush.
You're in charge. You're the boss.
I know. So my friends who really enthusiastic whiskey lovers, they already know the distillery's capacity and what you're using casks. But who are you? Everyone knows you, but actually they don't know about you personally. I wanted to know after sell the distilleries, did he buy a Ferrari like that?
No.
Just kidding.
Who am I? Look, most of my life I've just been totally immersed in developing whiskey and getting an understanding and then using the knowledge in terms of all of the wood style of casks that we use, and all of this gets locked away and it becomes instinct. What can we do? You look at and what personality do we want to create, which direction are we going in. We've got the sherry styles, and then we have the various virgin oak woods, which I personally find to be intriguing. I don't think that the industry generally has done enough on understanding how different oak genuses from various regions. We're doing a lot, and Ronan is quite deeply involved in that too. Doing a lot of work on what is the difference between American Appalachian, Chinkapin, Ozark, European oaks, Spanish, French, going further east, looking at Hungarian oak, which is terrific. We've had a look at Eastern Russian oak, which is also, I have to say, works extremely well. Virgin oak, and we've been fortunate to get some Mizunara, Japanese oak casks that difficult to work with, but used in the proper way can give you spectacular results in terms of maturation. That is me. We're constantly involved in getting a deeper and deeper understanding of how the distillery, how Glennalki reacts with the different styles of woods, and that's where we are.
Right. Man of the whiskey.
Yeah, we wake up thinking about whiskey, go to bed thinking about whiskey. But, you know, we're lucky, private company. So essentially we can do what we want to do within the rules, and that's different from bigger companies because they are protecting very famous legacy brands. We can be much more imaginative and creative and just challenge convention. Where does the journey take us?
For me, it's really impressive because when you sell the distillers before, people thought, he gonna retire. But I've seen your interview that you said, I'm still young. I have to do something more. I don't want to retire. That was really inspired me.
The phrase is that we had some unfinished business. When we sold Glendronak and Glenglasach and Ben Riach, I was particularly comfortable with. But I had two very good partners who felt it was the right time and the right thing to do. But we also knew that I knew that if something else came up, then it was an opportunity that we would not, we would definitely pursue it. And it was quite a chance that the managing director of Chivas called me and said, look, thinking of selling Glennalaki, would you be interested? And I said, of course.
Right.
And of course it was an opportunity to take a distillery that was virtually, as a brand, was virtually unknown. From our point of view, that's the ideal situation. It doesn't have a personality that has been, the people have been informed about. So we could create the personality and we could start a journey that, and we're still on the journey. What we've achieved in 5 years is good, and we've achieved, it's now on to the next 5 years, and it's a different kind of journey. It's not telling the world or trying to convince the world that Glennalaki exists. It's now about refining who Glennalaki are and taking us on to the next part of the journey. Yeah,
it's like a young CEO of the startup company.
And really, that's what we are.
Yeah.
We're a startup company to engage with the world markets. The markets have been kind. They have recognised that we're doing some interesting stuff. Hopefully, they think we're producing some very interesting and good quality. But the journey will continue. As I say, we are very much at the start of the journey.
Still young and have a spirit of the passionate making new whiskies. I've heard you majored chemistry.
Yeah.
Particularly in the view of the point. You always concerned about the cask.
Yeah. It's also important though that we make the kind of new fill spirit, the starting spirit. Essentially, if you make good spirit,
that's right,
and you put it into good wood, you've got a good chance of doing something special. If you make good spirit and you put it into poor wood, you will have poor whiskey. So it's actually bringing together established style of new fill that we want, marrying it with the rich top-end quality of oak wood casks that we want to work with. Having a chemistry background is important, while blending is instinct. The understanding of the chemistry allows you to better understand the layers of flavour that you're introducing into the whiskey, why you're introducing it, and how you're managing to achieve that.
In that point of view, normally you were called King of the Sherry Cask, but these days I feel like you are exploring another casks, very interesting casks.
Absolutely.
Because you already made your castle of the know-how and your experimental things, but still changing your type and another cask.
We're always pushing back the barrier a little bit. Better understand, is there something new we can look at? And the world actually, over the last 10, 15 years, very recently, the world was a very open place. I mean, getting access to different styles of oak wood, Russian oak wood, Mongolian oak wood, these casks were relatively unknown 10, 20 years ago. We didn't have access to them. As a consequence, we're doing some of the virgin oak woods at different levels of toasting and charring, giving amazing results. Absolutely amazing results.
It's a kind of similar question, but on the way to being here in this morning, I already fascinated in this distillery. It's really beautiful and huge. What was the attraction of this distillery before?
First of all, I was familiar with this distillery because many years ago I had used Glennalaki spirit in preparing some blended whiskies. The fact that the distillery was unknown as a single malt was a huge plus.
Right.
It meant that we could create the personality. It was a blank sheet. We could write our own, paint our own pictures. Being a big distillery was not necessarily an attraction. When we acquired the distillery, we knew we didn't want to operate at 4.2 million litres. We wanted to have a much more boutique style of operation, so we're operating about 800,000, 850,000 litres. That allows us to have long fermentation. So conventionally, most distilleries will operate fermentations about 56 to 60, 65 hours. We are now operating about 140 to 160 hour fermentation. Fermentation goes to full term. Many advantages to that. We get the yeast activity goes to full term, and in addition there is some natural yeast and some friendly bacteria that's working away, and it's giving us additional layers of flavouring actually in the fermentation. When we take the wash, it's very benign. So it's a very easy distillation. So these are kind of pragmatic operational things that kind of pre-designed in advance of actually taking ownership of the distillery. The operation of this distillery is totally different than it was in its previous existence under the ownership of Chivas.
Just 2 years ago, nobody knows about Glennalaki, but now everyone going crazy with to get Glennalaki, especially 10CS or single cask as well. My wife as well. My wife is really big fan of you.
Good.
Glendronak, and now she's really focused on you. What does it make next? We just married 2 years ago. She didn't know about nothing about the whiskey, but now she's fall in love with you.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Anyways, she really wonder what is your first whiskey and how did you feel it? Valentine's?
Valentine's, yeah, Valentine's, and blended whiskey 50 years ago was spectacular. It still is today. They were an exciting company, and they very quality was everything.
How's your first sipping the whiskey?
Well, I think that was probably a little bit younger than that when I was stealing some of my father's whiskey.
Yes, it was Korea.
Probably was round about the age of 15, and it wouldn't be Ballantine's though, because Ballantine's was not sold in the United Kingdom these days. It was an export. It was an export. It was likely to have been Teachers. William Teachers would be my very first experience as a 15-year-old. As a naughty 15-year-old.
Exactly the same as Korean. In Korea, we drink like a tea, barley tea. Its color is similar. So young guys steal their father's whiskey and then pour the water.
Or even worse.
Feels like you are really prophet looking forward to future, like a 10CS, really amazing. Now, Lumley, Whitehead, single malt lovers actually don't very like blended, but it's really good as well.
Blended whiskey, there's some very interesting activity, but you have to be true to your principles that making a blended whiskey is complicated and difficult, and you've got to put the right building blocks in place. And that means also ensuring that you're using the right styles of grain whiskey and the right styles of malt, the various malts. The style of whiskey has got to be sufficient to allow the flavours of the malt whiskey to express themselves. I think White Heather is a very interesting product range, the 15 and the 21. And we won't, in terms of aging, we will not go to 12 or younger. It's not the territory we want to be in. That's occupied by Chivas Regal and Johnny Walker. But we will constantly, at consistency, we pursue perfection, try and improve on everything all the time. The next batch has got to be better. And yeah, look, we've played around with Lumreek. Lumreek's is a nice peated product.
That's right, yeah.
From 2018, we've been running a peated campaign for a couple of months each year, and you'll see some very interesting releases by the middle of next year.
Actually, my wife doesn't like peat whiskey, but she really loves the Lumley.
And that's a good story because it's a nice introduction to peated whiskey.
I think so. What about CS? Lumley CS?
In my opinion, outstanding. But I would say that. And I think batch 2 in the next couple of weeks.
Is it?
Yeah.
A few days ago in Korea, we've been released the 8 years old of the Glennalaki.
8-year-old's terrific.
People already have a trust on Glennalaki, so when release new thing, ready for tasting, love it. What you say, it's really good personality.
Nice person.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's exploration rum from Jamaica.
Yeah.
How do you think about it? Because you are still always making new things.
The rum category is, first of all, a very interesting category. It could develop in the way that single malt has developed if it's handled properly. And all of the procedures that we do with single malt are equally applicable to single rum releases as well.
Wow.
We have released some already, but there is more to come. And from our point of view, good rum spirit is a real professional approach to the wood management and maturation of the rum. That process is already well underway. In addition to what we're doing, we've released some rums that have been matured in peated casks.
Wow.
It gives a very interesting twist to the flavour characteristics of the rum.
I cannot imagine rum in the pit cask. Interesting.
And that's the point. People probably have not been able to imagine. If you step out of the comfort zone, we found it to be, in fact, we think it's spectacular.
Just take a seat and travel around the world with the alcohols.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me, yeah, right. The next one is pit whiskey.
Yes.
Yeah, not the Lumlake, the Glennalaki.
Lumlake is a blended malt. With it. The next one will be 100% peated single malt whiskey from Glenallaky Distillery.
Oh yeah.
In the middle of next year, I think, with the same kind of attention to detail in terms of the wood management and the maturation. We've already done some interesting pilots, and in the 50th anniversary releases, the future was the peated release, a 4-year-old peated release, and that's kind of it's kind of a starter for 10 of what will be coming next year.
All right, really expecting. What about another CS, like a 12, 15 CS?
The 21-year-old is a cask strength.
Ah yeah.
Cask strength is fantastic. You know, it's absolutely natural.
I love it.
But we've also got to recognise that from a duty tax point of view, can present some difficulties for the retailers. And there is actually a practical challenge with cask strength because each time it changes, so the retailers have to change the barcode, but that's not a reason. It's not a reason not to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're always looking at these opportunities.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So nothing's off the table.
Okay. Yeah. Really expecting whiskey lovers gonna be happy. Really good information in Korea. I really want to 12 CS, 15 CS.
That's unlikely, but there might be special releases. We'll see.
There's so many kind of single casks in Korea, Korean versions, so people really love it and enjoy it.
Good.
From my subscribers and from my friends, it's personal questions. Do you drink another whiskeys like bourbons, the others?
No.
Nope.
But that's not to say I don't sample them. You know, it's always important to understand what other categories in terms of flavour experience. I'm really a Scotch whisky drinker, and of course a Glenallaky drinker.
What about like a vodkas or the others? Sake.
Sake, very interested.
Yeah.
Korean.
Soju.
Soju. We have some very memorable experiences drinking soju.
Yeah. I should take it here.
In downtown Seoul, in small bars.
And crowding and noisy.
But exciting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The energy.
Yeah.
My favorite was 10 CS, but now I really love 13 years of Billiywalker cask.
Beautiful.
What's your favorite?
Now, that's a difficult question. I have to say, we have just done the process of making batch 8, cask strength batch 8.
Yeah.
Now that's spectacular, and in my opinion, that is the best 10-year-old cask strength of the series so far. Let's do a Sauterne finish. We know that when your expectation and reality, when they converge and it delivers what we expect, and probably quite often more than we expect, then that becomes my favourite. But mostly it's the last vatting that we did. Yeah, look, this is up to standard.
Okay. Maybe you don't smoke.
No,
nope.
Never, yeah, so do I. How do you keep your sense of taste still now?
And that's actually a good question, and it's quite a difficult question too, because my sensory nose and taste are probably not as good 20 or 50 years ago, but I have a huge library of instinct.
That's right.
That helps me with the tasting and the nosing experience. A lot of it is here.
That's right. Wow, really good answer. Wow. As a senior and resident of whiskey, is there any advice for Korean whiskey lovers?
Advice: drink sensibly. Listen, the one covenant that we make both to ourselves and to the consumer is that anything we put in the bottle has to pass the quality test. If we're uncomfortable with a vatting that we make, we will not bottle it. You shouldn't need to add water. I'm not saying don't add water, but it should be comfortable to your mouth experience. The reason we bottle at 46% or higher is that it's technically stable. We are pursuing perfection all the time. We think on the journey we're on, we've probably got to 90% or where we want to be. But you always have to have the challenge to try and get there. We also want to be the best distillery in the Speyside Valley. And there's one or two quite big neighbours.
Right, yeah, why not? Oh, what about come to Korea?
I need to get a passport. Huge energy in Korea. No, we'll come. We'll come sooner rather than later, but I hope it needs to be sooner probably if I want to still be alive.
Okay, yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, really wish you last longer and be healthy. One of my big honor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, really.
My pleasure.